Hey, good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is a rare thing for me. It's a weekday. It's actually Monday. It's early in the morning. It's about 7 o'clock, 7:15. I know that's not very early for a lot of you, and it's not usually very early for me, but I don't typically start or film videos during the week. But today's a little different. As many of you have picked up from my video or Josh mentioning it on his video recently, I got fired from my job on Tuesday, January 10th, 11th. Look at the calendar, whatever date that is. And YouTube had a big role in that. So, yeah, let's go for a ride and let's talk about it.
All right. So, how did YouTube cause me to get fired from my job? Let's talk about that a little bit. As you guys know, I was a property manager. Let me give you a little background. I was in retail for a very, very long time. And I left retail to attempt some other fields of interest. After doing retail for so long, if you guys are in retail, you get it, man. After a while, you just get so burnt. And I was in it for 16 to 18 years. It's really hard for me to think of it right now, honestly. But so I went completely new field. The position had just been created. I was excited about it. And then COVID happened. So I was, after 5 weeks of working, I got laid off for COVID. I sat on my ass for 4 months. Got a job with a company called Ideal Image. That's where girls get their hoo-ha lasered off. Hey, man, whatever pays the bills. All I had to do was make appointments for consultations. And then my company that laid me off for COVID called me back in October. So from March to October, March to July, I didn't have a job. And then July to October, I worked for the hair removal company. And then October, they called me back, said, hey, we wanted to make sure you were one of the first ones brought back. I was really kind of honored, but it wasn't my old position. So when they called me back in October, it was for a completely different position. Like I mentioned, that the position that I took with them initially was recently created. I was the first one in that role. They decided they weren't going to go back with that position again. So they brought me on as a warehouse manager, a role I've never played before. It wasn't that hard in terms of doing the job, but man, the director that worked at that office was so far up my ass all the time. And I realized after being there for a few more months, I was there about 3 months, none of the managers there actually were able to manage their department. He managed everything and then tried to play it off like you were managing. And it's like, no, I'm not really doing anything here. I'm really doing, whatever you want to be done. Anyway, so I got called by a former boss and said, hey, I got a couple of positions I'd like for you to apply for. I mean, obviously he can't promise me a position because, there's a whole hiring process, but took a stab at it. That's when I got hired as a trailer park property manager, a manufactured home community. I actually liked the job. I really enjoyed it. Make all the jokes you want about trailer park people, trailer trash, trailer parks, whatever. But like I always say, man, a roof is a roof. And these people were just people. Some of them were, more well off than others. I mean, it's not one of those kind of jobs where, or the mobile home communities, we're going to call them that, I guess. We're not your stereotypical trailer parks that you think of. These are like people own their homes. We rent the land to them. Big racket, by the way. We had community standards I had to inspect to make sure the yards didn't look like shit. They were pressure washing their houses. I mean, we had standards, and not everybody lived up to them. We had some people inside of each neighborhood that definitely tried their best to make it look like a trailer park, but I really enjoyed it. And after 10 months, brand new industry, 10 months, I was promoted to a regional manager. This took effect December 27th, 2021. I had one of the largest regions in the company, the second largest out of 13. 13 regions. Most regions had between 9 and 11 properties. I had 13. There was one larger than me with 16. It was a lot of work, man. It's a whole lot of work. I think a lot of the guys, if you're on my Patreon and in my Discord, you'll know, I think everybody saw me drop off significantly in 2022. Like, I didn't quit. I talk to my patrons in Discord every single day. It might not be a whole lot, but I talk to them every single day. So if you want to jump in on the Discord conversation, hit up Patreon. The link is down below in the description. It's also at the end in the 20-second little trailer that I have. I did pretty well at my job. I was always told, you're phenomenal at your job. Your performance is great reviews. I got the maximum amount of raise that I could get back in the summer, when I was eligible for a raise. I got a call from the owner of the company in October. The company I worked for wasn't a corporate. It had a corporate-like structure, but it wasn't corporate. It was owned by a dude up in Chicago. After Hurricane Ian, I busted my ass to help get my team and my residents back up to speed on everything, and lots of very long days. The owner of the company called and told me, he's like, I heard about all the hard work you're doing. You're the kind of person we want in the company. You kind of feel good about it, right? Well, Friday, January 6th. Again, you'll have to check the dates yourself. I'm pretty sure it was January 6th. I get a call from HR. Hey, I wanted to ask you about your relationship with one of your employees. And I'm like, they named the employee. Obviously, I'm not going to do that here. And I'm like, there's no relationship. What do you mean by relationship with them? They started asking very specific questions about some events. It's just kind of wild, man. It's just kind of wild. Let me give you the. I kind of want to shoot forward and then come back, so we're going to do that. Anyway, I get fired on following Tuesday. The official reason for termination was creating an environment of favoritism. And, throughout the termination conversation, I was asking, can you tell me any specific favors that this employee was granted that weren't available to other employees doing the same work? They couldn't give me that. They couldn't give me that at all. I was so hurt by the whole thing. So the instances that they're using for their evidence, all of which are so easily refutable. And I'm going to pause here for a moment and say that I understand that probably everybody who gets fired has a sob story. How it wasn't their fault, the boss is bullshit. I've been fired before. I'm 46 years old. This ain't my first rodeo, man. I've been fired before. And in all of them, there were some injustices that happened to me. But there were also some things where it's like, well, maybe I could have done this different, whatever. But in this case, they were, reaching completely fabricated scenarios. It was so wild. Even my boss was like, I can't believe this happened. It wasn't my boss. My boss didn't fire me. Bosses typically don't. This was HR and above, like senior VP level stuff. So one of the instances, they used the March 2022 Forgotten Angels Camp Out video that I put out, which is no longer on YouTube. I pulled it down. And I've got some personal reasons for that, too, that I don't want to get into. One of my employees was at this particular camp out. We are seen in the video having exactly one beer together. One beer. And we were also on my motorcycle, like much later in the video at a completely different time of day. And you might think, oh, you can't drink with your employees. Well, no, it's not really the case with that company. I mean, supervisors and their employees often have a drink or two together, often after hours. People are often, inviting, their team, let's go out after work for a couple of drinks, and then, nobody thinks anything of it. One thing about that camp out, for those who were there, you remember, I had a lot of people on my motorcycle. I had 5 or 6 different men. I had a couple of women. I wasn't trying to bang any of them. It was just, we were having a good time. Anyway, so it wasn't just that, right? If they would have just left it at that, it's reaching, but it's like, wow, here's the part that they got me on that video. They said in the video, the employee was bragging about being drunk. I said, excuse me, provide a timestamp, because nobody in any of my videos brags about being drunk. Please give me the timestamp where this employee bragged about being drunk, because it's not true. You cannot find the evidence because the evidence doesn't exist. So they knew I was right there and said, well, then you guys are seen, speeding and flying down the road. And again, I said, can you please provide the timestamp for that? Because in that video, it just so happens the camera was on the speedometer and we never even made it to 45 miles per hour on camera. So completely embellished. I know they used that video as the whole basis, or the YouTube channel. Somebody turned that video into HR. And that caused the company, HR, senior VPs, owner of the company, whatever, I know that had them scoping out my channel. And I know they just didn't like the fact that, I'm not the guy that goes home at night, puts on his cardigan, his smoking jacket, has a glass of scotch. It's just all made up, man. It's all made up. The only thing that they had was that I had a video with one of my employees in it, but they used the video and made complete lies out of it. Complete lies. After I'm terminated, the night before I'm terminated, I kind of got the heads up that I was being terminated. I'm not going to say, by who, but I called the senior VP of HR. There's 3 VPs in that company. All 3 of them report directly to the owner. I said, hey, this is what I heard. Tell me what's going on. She goes, oh, let's not jump to conclusions. You're going to have a call tomorrow with HR and your boss. And after that call, if you want to call and talk to me, you're more than welcome. Okay. So I did. I was terminated, got on my bike. I went over to Josh's house, actually. I called her. I told Josh, I said, hey, I'll step outside so I can take this call. He's like, no, dude, I want to hear this. So on speakerphone, I'm talking to this lady. And even after the call was over, Josh said to me, dude, she was so flustered. She didn't give you an answer on anything. Everything was so bullshit. It so was. After easily being able to refute all of their claims, right? The whole time she's saying things like, Mike, I really think we all need to really think you need to take a look in the mirror here, and take some ownership. I said, no, there's nothing to take ownership of. And she said, well, that's why we're in this situation. I said, no, it's not. I said, you want to feel better about your decision by me taking ownership of things. I said, but I've disproven everything. There's nothing to take ownership of. And finally, near the end of the conversation, this is key for me. This is kind of what hurt most. She said, Mike, we don't think there was an inappropriate relationship, with you two. After doing the investigation, your stories line up, which I replied, there's no story to line up. That's why they lined up. Everything's the truth. She said, but it really doesn't matter if there was actual favoritism or not. The perception was there. I'm like, so you fired me because somebody turned me into HR for a perception? I'm like, aren't all HR complaints somebody's perception of things? Oh, man, it was just so heartbreaking. Yeah, man, absolutely wild. And then word of my termination starts getting out within the company. People are reaching out to me for days after this and telling me about all these other scenarios that they know of and, things that were investigated, nothing happened to them. And, even the lady who I talked to after I was terminated, senior VP, I reminded her of a conversation she and I had in 2021 where 2 employees were going after each other via HR, right? There was a lot of stories being told about each other. And her words to me even then were, people can say whatever they want. If we don't have hard evidence, there's nothing we can really do about it. Okay. So I asked her, I said, hey, here's people saying whatever they want. Where's your hard evidence? Because everything you've given me, easily refuted. Easily. Then I found out who the 2 people were, who made the complaints. I found out that one of them was absolutely the ringleader and was calling around trying to recruit other people into this claim. Man, that's a big, that should be a big red flag, man. How are you going to recruit people into an HR claim? So when they told me, I said their names and HR verified. And they're like, oh, it wasn't just those 2, it was other people. First of all, HR, are you not suspicious when, I don't know how many people they're talking about, 6, 5, 3, I don't know. How suspicious is it if you have like 5 people coming forward at the same time about a video from March of 2022? Come on, man. I'm not an HR professional, but it just seems pretty elementary to me. It really does. Yeah, so you combine that with the amount of plumbing issues that we've had the last 2 months. I paid, the repiping of my house was $12,000. Do you think I had all $12,000? No, I didn't have all $12,000. We had some rough times in 2020 with COVID layoffs and all kinds of shit. I didn't have 12 grand, so it wiped me out, and I had to finance a lot of that. So now I've got a payment that I probably can't afford. I'm not trying to whine to you guys. I mean, it probably sounds like it. I had to buy a water heater. A few weeks before the repipe, I had to have my drain lines jetted out. They were $700. This whole thing really took me by surprise. Even my boss after the termination was like, "Hey, I'm going to find you something in a couple of days in property management." I mean, here it's been 2 weeks. I haven't heard from him in a while. I've had a couple other people reach out to me since then, letting me know they were terminated, and weren't really given a good reason for it. So I don't know what kind of house cleaning they were doing. I've applied to probably 45 jobs in the last couple of weeks. I did pause a little bit last week, and I didn't apply for any new jobs after Monday of last week. And that might sound a little bit lazy, but let me explain why. You can be a property manager in Florida without a license, but there is a license available, and that license not only will probably pay you more, but there's probably 30 or 40 jobs that I skipped on applying for because I don't have the license. I just finished that course on Friday. I need to go get my fingerprints taken, submit an application, and then schedule my exam, like the actual state exam. Yeah, so that's where the sense of urgency has come from on the Goldwing giveaway, because I went from a certain dollar amount to $0. $0. And I've never been in this situation before. It's pretty scared, honestly. Because right now, literally, YouTube is my only source of income. And if you guys want to know what a YouTuber with about 6,000 subscribers makes, not a whole lot, man. A couple $100 a month, if $250. Patreon is good supplemental. I appreciate all the support out there. I really do. So thank you for all my patrons out there supporting me. Now, where am I going this morning then? Why, if the traffic is so bad on a weekday morning, why am I in it? Well, in the meantime, and this might end up being the best thing that ever happened to me. I did get a new job. It's a sales job. It's 100% commission after training. I'm not really all that keen on it. When I was starting off as a young family man, a young father, young husband, one of my first jobs was I worked at a car dealership for a year. My wife was on bed rest with our now 19-year-old daughter, and I was able to pay all the bills of our family as a car salesman and still have a little bit of play money. So that's what got me started thinking, man, I could do sales. And that's why I switched to retail. But anyway, I'm going to turn the camera off. We've got some semblance of freedom up here. Hopefully I don't crash, because these motherfuckers around this part of the Veterans Expressway are nuts. So we'll see you down the road.
So what's next in the Mike Branch journey? What new adventure did we start today? Well, if you can see behind me, starting at Burt's Barracuda. I just started today. I'm in sales. Maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to me. Maybe it isn't, but we will certainly see. Just started, so I'm in training. You guys are local in the area, looking for a bike, brand new, used. I've seen several trade-ins in there, Harley Davidson, Metric, whatever. Come by, talk to me. Ask for Mike Branch, Uncle Bogator, whatever. They'll probably know who you're talking about. All right, y'all. That's about going to wrap this one up. I did edit a lot out of this one, actually. When my HR terminated me, they actually gave me 2 other scenarios that were either completely fabricated or embellished to the point of just absolute disbelief, and I decided not to include those 2 in this video. Just kind of, for the most part, it's just that the YouTube relevancy to this video was just kind of isolated to that one incident, but the other 2 incidents that they used just weren't true. And like I said earlier in the video, I know everybody, when they get fired, it's like, oh, it wasn't my fault, and you can accuse me of bullshitting you if you want. It really doesn't matter to me that much. I know what did and didn't happen, and this one just took me off guard, man. Trust me when I say when they want you, they'll get you. So Even if you're careful, even if you take all the precautionary steps in the world, it doesn't matter, because if I didn't have anything, that they could really terminate me on, and they somehow just found a way. And anyway, we're on to brighter and better things. I've always said that I wanted to work in the motorcycle industry, and I guess careful what you wish for, but I'm having a great time. I've been at Burt's now 2 weeks, and I'm actually having a good time. I got a video coming out either later this week or next week, where I'm covering my first week there, and I'm having a ball. It's not, being a sales job on 100% commission isn't what I had in mind when I said I wanted to work in motorcycles, but I'm surrounded by motorcycles all day, every day, and get to talk motorcycles with people. So I'm really having a good time. I really hope, fingers crossed, that I do good things with this job. I make enough money to take care of the family. So yeah, thanks for coming along on this one. I know it's kind of I was just sitting in traffic the whole time. I'm on my way to my first day at work, but I appreciate it. And yeah, so until next time, see you later.